I think I'll have to cut the engine when I'm going in for landing because right now I have no throttle control, cannot land with 100% power.
This student pilot went on a solo navigation flight. So this means that this student pilot is flying all by himself. There is no flight instructor on board, there are no passengers on board. This student pilot is all alone in the airplane. And this student pilot, he has a problem. The engine is stuck on full power. So if he moves the throttle forward or backwards, well, nothing is happening. The engine remains on full power. Now what probably happened is that there is a cable going from the throttle to the carburetor, and this cable is controlling a valve inside of the carburetor. So if you move the throttle forwards, well, this valve opens and then more fuel-air mixture can go towards the engine, increasing the power. And if you move the throttle backwards, well, this valve is going to close and then less fuel-air mixture can go towards the engine and then you're going to decrease the power. But if this throttle cable breaks, there is a spring inside of the carburetor that's going to pull this throttle valve open. And this is a safety feature, because if you can no longer control this valve, it is much safer if this valve just goes fully open, so you can climb with the airplane.
What's traffic, number 49931, still about 4 miles out of the runway at 20. I think I'll have to cut the engine when I'm going in for landing, because right now I have no throttle control, cannot land with 100% power. I'm going to stay up in the air a little bit to figure things out, and then we'll advise when to be coming in. Thank you so much, Watsonville.
This student pilot is doing very well because he's keeping calm and he is taking his time to figure things out. And this is showing some very good airmanship, because the moment you start to panic, the moment you start to rush things, that's the moment when things get very dangerous.
Hey, I heard you were on the 121.5 on the CFI, so you're having a full problem with your throttle, it's full open?
Right now my throttle is a little bit towards in the middle, but I'm getting 100% power.
Okay, if you can, just try to keep it, give yourself a long final. Give yourself about a 5, 6, 7, 8 mile final if you can. Aim for the runway, come in, don't try to change the speed too much, stay a little bit low because you'll be fast. Once that happens, start pulling that mixture once you know you have the runway made. Climb up just a little bit so you can reduce your speed. You're going to gain altitude, that's why you stay low, and then try to make the runway. It could work out that way.
I do not know who is talking to the student. Apparently he is a flight instructor and he is trying to help, which is of course a good thing, but I think that this is not the safest way to solve this problem, because this flight instructor wants the student pilot to fly away from the airfield, then line up on a long final, pitch down, shut down the engine, then pitch back up to decrease the airspeed, pitch back down, and then land the airplane. I think that this is kind of dangerous to do. I think a much better solution would be to just proceed overhead the airfield and then switch off the engine with the magnetos. And then do a power-off landing. And if you make a mistake, well, it is very easy to just restart the engine, and then the engine will go back to full power. You can climb back overhead the airfield and then try again.
Roger that. So right when I'm coming in for the runway, I should pull out the mixture, and do I cut the magnetos or do I keep them on?
You got to cut that engine if it's not responding to your engine throttle inputs. So do whatever you got to do. Pull that mixture, turn the mags off, and try to get that engine cut. Do you have a fuel cutoff switch or valve?
Yes, I do have one.
I think that this is not a very good idea, because if you're going to switch off the mixture and the magnetos and the fuel, now you have to do 3 things to restart the engine, and this is going to be way too difficult. The workload is going to be way too high. It is much safer to just switch the engine off by switching the magnetos off, and in case you have to restart the engine, well, it's very simple. You can just grab the key and restart the engine, and the engine is going to restart.
I would pull that after you pull the mixture, definitely. Try to get that engine to cut.
Roger that, I'll do that. I'll still take a couple of minutes in the air to gather myself, and then I'll be coming in for the final.
This student pilot is doing very well. He's going to take a couple of minutes to gather himself, and then he's going to go towards the final. Now, this is showing some very good airmanship.
I don't know when's the right time to put down the flaps, because the arc is at 85.
You 172?
No, this is 152, 49931.
Yeah, what type of aircraft are you?
It's a 152.
152, okay. Let me think here for a minute.
I don't understand the question about the flaps. Now, maybe there is some misunderstanding, because if you make a normal landing with an airplane, then okay, it is standard procedure to put down a notch of flaps and then land with the airplane, but this is no longer a standard landing. This is something else.
The aircraft is having problems. He's outbound, inbound.
I think he's going to stay up there for a second to figure some things out.
Okay, sir, thanks for your help. Do you know anything about him? Does he have a flight instructor here on the field?
I'm a student solo number 49931.
Okay, 49931. Are you soloing out of Watsonville?
Oh, yes, soloing out of Watsonville.
Who's your flight instructor out of Watsonville?
Yes, my flight instructor is from United Flight Services.
Okay, we're going to try to find someone from United to get with you.
Roger that. Thank you so much.
I don't know who this other person is who is talking over the frequency, probably somebody on the ground. But he is doing something very helpful. He's going to get another flight instructor. And hopefully this flight instructor can help the student pilot, because that other one was not really that much of a help.
If you can, keep headed toward the field, because if that engine quits, you want to be as close as you can.
Right, got it. Right now I'm at 4,000 feet, so I can make the field if the engine quits right now. But if I start coming in towards the airport, I'm just going to have too much power and speed.
No, we want you to head toward the airport and circle the airport high. You can be above the airport.
Roger that. I'll do that. Thank you.
I do not know who this other person is, probably somebody on the ground. But this person has got the right idea. Just proceed over at the airfield. And just in case if the engine quits, well, probably not going to quit, but if the engine quits, well, you can just make a power-off landing. This is some very good advice of this person. This person is helping the student.
And to the student pilot who's having the emergency, how familiar are you with engine out emergency procedures?
I'm pretty familiar with them. I've practiced them quite a few times with my instructor.
Another option that I can give you is if you want to circle the field and you still cannot make any power adjustments at 4,000 feet, you can try putting that mixture to idle and glide it all the way down, circling for the runway, but it's your decision.
This other pilot, or I do not really know who is talking over the frequency, but this other person, he's got the right idea. This is the safest option to solve this problem. Just switch off the engine by switching off the magnetos and make a power-off landing. And in case something goes wrong, well, you can always just restart the engine, but this is the safest way to solve this problem.
Right, I'll think about it, because if I cut out the mixture, then I have to get the fuel valve off and the magneto stuff, correct? I just cut off the whole engine.
At this point, you're just an emergency aircraft, so you don't if you can get the engine to stop with the mixture cut, that'll be good enough.
Perfect, thank you so much. I'll just go through my checklist again.
Well, if it was me talking over the radio and helping the student, I would be very clear. I would say something like, negative, I only want you to switch off the magnetos. Or in this case, this person only wanted the student to switch off the mixture. But you have to be very clear with your instructions. And this was a bit too muddy. This is not clear enough.
Number 5, is he okay? Like, were you monitoring that frequency? Is that why? I was trying to get a hold of you, but I couldn't hear you. But is he okay right now? What's the status?
I think the guy has full throttle. He cannot pull power. So he's talking to somebody. I think Watsonville ground is on that frequency as well. And they're trying to help him right now to CFR02.
Okay, so somebody is actively talking to 931 and trying to help him out?
Yes, Watsonville ground is on that frequency to CFR02.
Okay, thanks. Number 502, can you do me a favor? Can you go to the CTAF real quick and ask him if he needs emergency equipment? Also, can you have him give you an estimate of fuel remaining and how many people are on board?
All right, we'll ask for fuel remaining people and if he needs equipment to CFR02. Give me 1 second.
Number 502, thanks a lot.
This is some very good air traffic controlling. This is an ATC, probably from another airfield. And he could receive this message of the student because the student was transmitting on 1 to 1.5. This is an emergency frequency, so everybody in the wide vicinity could receive his messages. And this is a very good controller because this controller is going out of his way to help the students. This is some very good stuff.
This is CFI02.
Number 502, go ahead.
All right, so it's a student, so it's just one person on board, and he has about 13 gallons of fuel.
So one student, and you said how many hours of fuel?
It would be 13 gallons of fuel. Let me ask him how much is it going to be.
Oh, that's fine. We don't want to stress him out. So 13 gallons of fuel left remaining.
He is a very good controller because he doesn't want to increase the workload for the student pilot. Because the moment you are going to start to distract the student pilot by asking all kinds of questions, that's the moment that he's going to be distracted. That's the moment that the student pilot is going to stop flying with the airplane. And then maybe he can go into a stall, he can go into a spin, and then that's game over.
Number 502, yeah. Tell him it's not an issue if he needs equipment. It's better to be safe than sorry. So if he feels he needs equipment, please tell him it is not an issue with regards to that aspect.
And he is of course right. Even though you think you can safely land with the airplane, this is no longer a normal landing, so things can go wrong. There is a higher possibility that things will go wrong. So it is a very good idea to have everybody on standby. So in case something goes wrong, there is only a very short window where they can possibly help you. So if everybody is already on the airfield, then the response time is going to be much quicker, and this can save your life. So do not hesitate to ask for help.
Number 502, contact approach 120.1. Thank you for the help.
All right, contact 120.1, and we have an update on the emergency to CFI02.
502, go ahead.
The emergency, he's talking to a mechanic right now, and he says he doesn't have any control of the throttle to CFI02.
Okay, thank you very much.
So now apparently there is a mechanic talking to the student pilot. I know that this mechanic is trying to be helpful, which is of course a good thing, but this is kind of dangerous to do because he is now distracting the student pilot by asking questions, but the student pilot should focus 100% on flying with the airplane.
What altitude are you at right now?
I'm at about 6,700.
Okay, you done engine out landings, and if you who's your instructor, Harry?
Harry, yes.
Okay, now there is a flight instructor talking to the student, the flight instructor of his flight school. Now, if I was this flight instructor, I would not start my radio communication by asking a question. I would just say that I am, for example, I am Peter van de Koning, I am a flight instructor at your flight school, and I'm going to help you. Everything is going to be alright. And then I'm going to start asking questions, and I'm going to start helping the student. But first I want to put the student at ease, so that the student pilot knows that everything is going to be alright.
Okay, so you're going to control this basically with the mixture.
Got it.
Start pulling the mixture back, and you can go idle cut off. Once you go idle cut off, and it'll kind of shut itself off for a little bit, you can start a descent at about 70 knots or so, and then come back in slowly, and you'll see the engine should restart. So do that a few times just to get used to it.
Perfect, got it. So what I do is I go mixture idle, and then it cuts off, and then when I start going in and I put in the mixture back, I'll get it back again, correct?
So go ahead and pull the mixture all the way back and start descend maybe 500 or 1,000 feet and try that out, and then slowly put it back in.
Now this is kind of dangerous to do. This flight instructor wants the student pilot to switch off the engine so that he can start to descend and then switch the engine back on. I don't really understand what the purpose is of this procedure. I think it would be much safer to just switch the engine off and make a power off landing, and not switch the engine off and back on and back off and then back on, and I don't understand.
So you want to do that? You want to get down to about, I don't know, 2,000 or 3,000, to about 2,000 feet, and you're going to set yourself up, you know, on a long final for 2-0, okay? And then you're going to come in at about 2,000, start descending, and then you'll slowly pull her. Once you kind of be a little bit high for the field, you'll pull the mixture back and start slowing the plane down, and you'll start putting the flaps in and land. If it doesn't work out, you put the mixture back in, put the flaps back up, and try it again, okay?
Roger that, I'll try that again, and then I'll start descending right now.
This is absolutely not the correct way to solve this problem, because this flight instructor, what he wants the student pilot to do is to switch the engine off and then glide away from the airfield and then maybe switch the engine back on, and then, I don't know, I don't really understand what this flight instructor wants the student pilot to do, but the student pilot needs to be somewhere on a long final. So this is the runway, the student pilot needs to be here, then he needs to switch off the engine and then try to land on the runway. And if this student pilot makes a mistake and he cannot reach the runway, he has to restart the engine and try again. But this is very difficult to do. And what are you going to do if you can no longer restart the engine? Then of course you're not going to make it to the runway. A much safer and easier procedure would be to just proceed overhead the airfield, switch the engine off with the magnetos and make a power off landing. And if you make a mistake, it is quite easy to switch the engine back on. And then climb back overhead the airfield and try again. This would be much safer.
Is runway 20 open?
Yes, sir. The emergency aircraft just clear out runway 20, sir.
I don't really understand how this student pilot has done it, but he has done it. He's back safely on the ground. And this is the most important thing. Now, if you want to know how to handle this situation, how to be safe when you have a stock throttle, well, go towards my video flight training course on vintageaviators.net. Thank you for watching.